You started the last one. I'll start this one.
Okay.
And we'll start it off spicy.
Let's go.
Let's go spice. We need some spice on this podcast. Should I cut weight for my first competition? Let's go. There's some hot opinions in this room on weight cutting in general, and then especially weight cutting for a first competition. So we're going to talk about it. This is a safe space. Is it?
We're all adults here.
We're dangerous. This ain't no safe space. I'm a blue belt in karate. Should I cut weight for my first competition? Hello, everyone. I'm a female, 27 years old, white belt with one stripe who's been training for 7 months. I have my first competition on March 30th. Okay, so that's a month from now. That's like a month and a week from now. My current weight without the gi on is 122. With the gi on, I'm 128. That's a 5-pound gi. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's a really heavy.
Get a lighter gi first of all if you're going to compete.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Like a lot of people don't need a weight cut maybe if they're like on the line. If you just have a lighter gi, they make competition gis that are light. You can't be too light because the IBJJF regulations can't have like super light gis. But like that's one thing. Like if you're on the line between two weight classes, you can just get lighter gear and be like, okay, now you're good. You're good to go. 5-pound gi. That's very heavy for a person that's 5'5", according to this question.
I would agree.
Yeah, that's a judo gi. Or it's giant. What if they just train in a blanket?
I had when I first started, I had a Venom gi that somebody gave me, and it was so heavy.
It was just thick as fuck.
It was it was so comfy though. The liner on the inside was like silky, and every time if I was feeling luxurious, I roll into the academy wearing that. It was purple too. It was fucking.
That's
was nice.
hard, dude.
Yeah.
Gold chain, purple gi.
Yeah.
Bro, did you have a grill?
It was pimping, dude.
Yeah. I like it. Okay, that's it. I actually didn't even think about this, but yeah, they sell competition gis for a reason. If you have the money, just have you should have 2 gis at a competition anyway if you're going to compete that frequently. If you have money, have at least 2 gis, a training gi and a competition gi. My question is, should I cut down to super featherweight division? That's 120 pounds with the gi on. Or should I bulk up a bit more, stay in the featherweight division where the max is 134? So what she's looking at, and she has 5 weeks to do it. So what she's looking at is with the gi on, she'll be 128. To go down a weight division with the gi on, she'll have to be 120. So the difference there is 8 pounds. Mm-hmm. She's asking, should she cut 8 pounds in 5 weeks for her first competition at white belt after training for 7 months? No. And the reason I say that is, I'll let you speak on your own opinions on weight cutting. I've done a lot of weight cutting. I actually just finished weight cutting 8 pounds in 1 week, actually 4 or 5 days, I think. And that was a water cut. And it's a day before weigh-in, so I water cut 8 pounds this week, and I weighed in at midnight, literally, because I was like, I need some water. You don't want to compete like that, but look, I'm doing this to myself, right? Like I'm just deciding to do it, and you don't have to do it. I've done a lot of weight cuts over like longer periods of time where I've gone in like calorie deficits and like lost body fat, and like legit got down to like 147 pounds for like pans recently, like no-gi pans, and I walk around at like now I'm like 163. So like. I've done this like a lot of times. I've done it in very unhealthy ways. Like there was a jiu-jitsu world league in Houston where I decided to cut 10 pounds in like 3 days or 2 days or something. And it was like morning of weigh-ins. Dude, I have video of myself. I look gaunt, like just bad. And I like injured myself in the competition too. My body was torn up. Like regardless of your opinion on weight cutting, there are ways to do it that affect your performance less than other ways, but they all affect your performance. There's not a way to show up because in all these competitions, you usually have to weigh in right before you compete. That's the thing about like IBJJF and most tournaments is if you're going to cut, you're going to show up in a less optimal physical state and weigh in, and potentially immediately right after you step on the scale, get called by a mat coordinator to go compete.
Yeah.
And if you're expecting that, like, maybe you're banking on the fact that you'll have like an hour in the bullpen to like refuel, dude, fuck all that. Like, I've gone into the bullpen so many times and been called right away to go to the mat when my match time wasn't like till an hour from then or something.
Right.
Like, if you're weight cutting, and we were talking about this in the last episode too, like about competing and like the stakes we put on everything. Like, everything to me is like about intention. Like, everything you're doing should be intentional. If you're weight cutting because you think that's like part of the sport and you have to do it, like, I would say don't do it if like you think you have to do it. You don't have to do anything. In my very first competition ever, in Stockton at a Jiu-Jitsu World League, I competed at middleweight. Keep in mind, like, right before I started competing, I got up to like 215 pounds in 2021. I was very unhealthy. I was like drinking all the time. I was in a very poor state of health. And if I would have competed at 215 pounds, like, you can do it. But you have to know the types of body types that you're going to end up competing against. Like, if I'm a 5'8" dude who's competing at 215 pounds with like the amount of muscle mass I have, I'm going to be going against like 6'5" dudes built like football players. And like, you can just decide to compete like that if you want to. It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. And just know what you're getting yourself into. And I ended up doing my first ever tournament at middleweight. I've done other tournaments at middleweight. I've done tournaments at lightweight, at featherweight. So like, intention, number one, is the thing to look at. Number two, know what you're getting yourself into. Like, there's something to be said for fighting people who are bigger and stronger than you. Third thing, if this is your first tournament ever, like, weight cutting should be the last thing you're thinking about. In my opinion, like, you probably don't even really know the rules that well yet if this is your first competition and you've only trained for 7 months. Like, Tanya was reffing at a Grappling Industries the other day. She was like, there was a white belt competing who didn't realize that what they thought was pulling guard was actually jumping guard, and that's illegal. Like, do you know that stuff? Do you know, sorry, that almost sounded condescending, but you should be like trying to figure out the rules. You should be trying to figure out like how to compete. You don't need to like be dehydrating yourself. You probably don't know how to, unless you have some experience with it. You're probably going to, maybe not. You might be a very smart person. You probably just don't know how to weight cut in the like most optimal way of weight cutting, which in and of itself is like going to affect your performance, right? Like, there's so many other things to think about in competition before you think about weight cutting, if that's something you choose to think about. Don't do it for your first competition. Just fight the heavier people. How much benefit are you really going to get from weight cutting anyway? Probably not much if it's your first tournament. Most people lose their first tournament. Half the people lose in the first round. There's like one winner for a division. Like, the odds are against you anyway. Don't fuck with your performance and like your risk for injury and stuff by trying to weight cut 7 months in for your first competition at white belt. I would advise against it. But you do you. Like, literally, I mean that. You do you. Like, if you want to, sure. But do it with intention. Do it with intention.
I'll keep my response short. As a strength coach, I don't think anybody should cut. As Josh said, I mean, it's his decision. It's your decision. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. Josh mentioned that any kind of weight cut is going to affect your performance, and I would argue that it affects it in a negative way. Like, I would rather be the lightest person in the weight class and be fueled, have food, have water, have the energy to do the thing, than come in and be dehydrated or starving. Like, some of the things that I've seen people do to pull this off is like absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah, people like take laxatives. People like will be spitting in cups. People throw up.
Yeah.
People do a lot of, by the way, trigger warning here for anybody who's dealing with any issues. Like people do a lot of
Yeah.
bad things to their body, which are kind of on a line, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. So it's my opinion that I don't think anybody should cut. I would like. There's no, I guess if there's any evidence around it, it's shoddy at best. There's no denying the benefits of like building muscle and like putting on muscle mass in order to quote bulletproof yourself. No, nobody's bulletproof, and there's no way that any amount of strength training can truly prevent injury. It can mitigate, maybe the instance or it can reduce the severity of any injury that could potentially come your way. But I'd rather people get stronger and actually put on a little bit of weight than try to starve or dehydrate themselves just to compete a couple pounds lighter.
Yeah, I think there's, like I said, I think there's something to be. I think that's a very reasonable way to look at it too. I think there's definitely something to be said for, like I said earlier, about like fighting people who are bigger than you. For me personally, when I've like gone between light and featherweight, because those like when and if I cut, it's to featherweight, which is a 14-pound difference or something.
Mm-hmm.
So like whenever I fight lightweight, I'm 8 pounds under in the gi, and I'm like on the line and no gi. So I'm always just the lightest person in the lightweight division. Everybody's about a head taller than me. Everybody's like bigger, which is that's just the body type that I'll face in the lightweight division. Whereas if I go down to featherweight, the bodies, they're my height or smaller. They're my build. So for me personally, between those two weight categories, I do notice a big difference in strength, a big difference in the types of jiu-jitsu they play. But again, like you're saying, there's extreme benefit to just getting really fucking strong, right? Like,
Right, yeah.
know what you're doing. Like, this should all be like intention.
Right.
This should be all intentional.
Yep.
Anyway, I've taken up half of this episode now. So.
That's okay, Josh. Okay, I got one here. This person says, I've recently added a HIIT workout, high intensity interval training, on the assault bike to improve my gas tank for BJJ. This consists of 5 rounds of 30 seconds high/max intensity and 30 seconds low intensity/rest. Immediately after, I feel very nauseous and my chest will feel congested, causing me to cough a lot. Have I started with too much intensity, or is this normal for everyone to feel like this after? The answer is that's probably too intense to start.
Yeah, that sounds really way too intense.
We will program the assault bike early in the program or early in a lift as a speed or power movement for those who don't qualify for full-on sprints, because sprints are the most explosive thing you can do. And if somebody's injured or I hate to say it, too old, or like there's a point where it's not worth the risk. And so we'll put them on the assault bike for just 10 seconds at a time and give them as much rest as they want so that they can, express as much speed and power as they can in the next 10-second rep. And even that's still too much for some people. Like, I've seen people have to take several minutes to recover from just a 10-second bout of high intensity on the assault bike. 30 seconds on high intensity, 30 seconds low. Like, there's no way that you could get to the end of that 5th round and have a true high intensity 30 seconds.
Yeah, there's no way.
You'd be so cooked. That's probably why you feel nauseous. And so I guess when it comes to like improving gas tank for BJJ, and this is something that I myself am like still learning how to program. First, you need some data around that. You can't just like be like high intensity, low intensity. That's not enough. Like, you need a heart rate monitor. You need to like be able to see actually what is your heart rate or what's your heart doing. And then once you have like that data or the ability to collect that data, you should approach building cardio just like you do strength training, in that you go from least complex to most complex, or least intense to most intense. you know, Joel Jameson is he's a strength and conditioning coach. He works with Demetrius Johnson, and it was his course that I went through recently. I absolutely loved it. If anybody's interested in this stuff, go get the certified conditioning coach certification. Is great. I thought he did a really good job. But he talks about like dynamic energy control and just learning how to maintain a heart rate, a target heart rate. Like if that's 130 beats a minute, just like do enough that you can just maintain it. You know, you don't have to like go crazy and like have like super high intensity right out the gate. You should be able to like pick it up, see that your heart rate's at, 130 or 140 or whatever it is that you're aiming for that day. And if you start to go a little too fast, back off the effort a little bit. And if you start to go a little too slow, raise the effort a little bit and just try to maintain that heart rate. And then once you can do that, then you can start playing with different levels and saying, okay, well, like I want to do, 10 seconds of medium intensity and then 30 of low. And then, you can play with that for a little bit and then just try to, put as much effort forth as you need to get your heart rate to that target zone and then back off and then up and then down and then up and then down. And when you get the hold of that, then you can start to add volume. And when you get the hold of that and you can add like a lot of volume, then you can start to add intensity. And then when you get the hold of that, then you can start to be like way more explosive and do things like explosive repeats or there's a whole litany of different methods that you could use. Long story short, I think that's probably too much to start. And that's why you feel nauseous. So don't do that.
Yeah. I've puked after running a lot because in the Army we like obviously like these were forced runs and like that like if you're feeling nauseous or you're puking, there's actually that type of nauseous where it doesn't feel like you're gonna puke, where you just have like this headache and like that actually might be intense dehydration. So also probably look at your hydration levels because people start to get really nauseous after if you're not used to like sweating a lot and like putting out really high cardiovascular output. Like, well, that's kind of fancy, bro. Damn. Like you might be dehydrated.
Do you want a job?
Yeah, you might be dehydrated. Are you looking? So, based on what you researched, are you looking to like ideally, if you were to look at this in a vacuum, are you trying to, for a given level of sustained heart rate, so like maybe 130 beats per minute, are you looking over time to like be able to increase the amount of output while maintaining that same heart rate threshold? Like if you were only looking at one level of heart, is that like what is cardiovascular? Like what is it when people saying they're doing cardio? Are they trying to like
all of those things, right? Like your goal is to to be able to maintain a certain level of like cardiovascular output. That level, if I say 130 beats a minute, that's just one example. It just depends on you and it depends on the day. Honestly, like this, and this is not a paid promotion for the Morpheus M7, I think is the best chest strap heart rate monitor that you could get for like measuring HRV, measuring your heart rate. The zones, change depending on sleep and how you're presenting for that day. So that it is, I think, the most accurate representation of, heart rate zones, whatever that is for you. So yeah, you're trying to maintain a certain level of output. And in this case, it's beats per minute and then over time. One of the methods is called high intensity continuous training, which I experimented with for a few weeks, maybe a couple months ago. And so I basically I put the heart rate monitor on, and the whole goal is to stay like at the top of the green, bottom of the blue zone, top of the blue, bottom of the green zone. And, on any given day, that was maybe 140 to 150 beats a minute, whatever that is. And the goal was just to put enough weight on the sled that I could continuously push that and maintain a heart rate around that point. And when I first started it, 5 minutes and I was cooked. My legs were shot and my heart rate started to spike and it was really hard for me to get it down. And then even within a couple weeks, like I was able to push 10, 15. By the end of that part of the program, I was pushing 20 minutes.
So more time at the same heart rate. Got it.
Right. So like I'm pushing 20 minutes. I'm like literally just pushing the sled, pulling the sled, pushing the sled, pulling the sled, and it's just like nonstop. And if at any point my heart rate started to drive up a little too high, I would just stop, wait for my heart rate to come down, and then just keep going and try to adjust the amount of effort that I'm putting in to maintain that heart rate. And it's like that's just one of the methods. Coach Jameson talks about, before you add intensity, add volume first. Like do more of the same before you start upping the intensity, I would say, if that's how you're going to progress it.
On that note, I haven't researched into the cardio stuff, but people have asked me just from the perspective of what is the non-scientific perspective, anecdotal perspective here is like, how do I develop cardio to be able to like I've done like 16 matches in one day at a Grappling Industries or some shit.
Yeah.
Shout out Raptor. This was in Salt Lake City. And people are like, how do you get more cardio for rolling? By rolling.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. Like people, obviously there's plenty to be said for the supplemental cardiovascular and strength training, which is like it supplements the activity you're doing, but it doesn't replace it, right? And like if you want to get good at like doing an activity, you have to do that activity, and then there's the additional things you do it to like then build that up further.
Yeah.
Right? So like
exactly. Yep, you got it. That comes back to like what's called the SAID principle, which is the specific adaptations of imposed demands. It just means whatever you put the body through, it will adapt to. And if your goal is to be able to roll 16 straight times, you should roll 16 straight times. Again, not to discount the off the mat stuff that you can do to raise that ceiling, but there is a such thing as like, we talked about this in hockey, we talk about in jiu-jitsu. There's a such thing as like hockey shape. Like you could like work out all summer, train all summer, but if you didn't skate all summer and then you jump on the ice, that's a whole different type of energy system that you're using. We can do our best to mimic it in the weight room, but the thing that's gonna do it best is actually doing the thing.
Skate, right?
Just skating,
Yeah.
right? Same thing in jiu-jitsu. Like you could take 3 months off, lift every single day or however often you're gonna do it, do all the cardio stuff in the world, and then get on the mats and feel like shit because you didn't roll that whole time. So
right, you got better at lifting weights and cardio, and you probably raised your baseline for the amount of effort you can put into the rolling.
Correct.
Right? But you didn't roll.
Right, but you do need to actually do the thing to get better at it.
Right.
Yep. You got it.
That was fun.
You want to do one more each?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll try to keep mine
Cool.
shorter. Yeah. This one is asked 2 years ago. Actually, I dug deep in the Reddit archives right now, and it's a guy asking, "Do you consider competition and in-class rolling to be the same?" And I love this question, and the reason I love this question is because a lot of the one strategy that people use to I don't like the word cope, but I'll just use the word cope for lack of a better word. To cope with competition anxiety is they say we're just showing up and it's just like rolling at the gym, except you get a medal afterwards. No, it's fucking not. It is not like rolling at the gym. It is not.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It is not all. There are things that it's the same sport. You're doing the same thing.
Right.
But man, when you get on the competition mat, like there's a whole another level of intensity. Actually, I was just talking again in the Instagram DMs. I have a friend named. Actually, I'll keep his name private for privacy. Private for
privacy purposes.
Private for privacy. And he was bummed because he just lost this Grappling Industries that was this past weekend. He said, "Man, I just got ran through, and I do so good at open mat, bro. It's not an open mat,
right?
You've probably had this experience in like training and competition. Like there might be people like higher level than you, black belts, maybe that you regularly smash in the gym." Dude, and then you could like like an adult purple belt competitor can come like smash you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Matt's really good. I'm not saying nobody
It's
can smash you,
possible.
Matt.
What he's saying is it's possible.
Nobody
And
can
it
do
is.
that to you, Matt. No, nobody can do that to you. But dude, or you show up and you face somebody in your division, a master brown belt. Have you beat every master brown belt? No. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like these guys are tough. They're doing the same thing you're doing.
Right.
Like I think people get this twisted. Like the level that you experience of grapplers in competition, no matter what level you're at, white belt, blue belt, whatever, dude, the level is so much like just on average higher than people who are rolling in the gym, and that it's like a selection process. It's like the people who are competing are the ones who are like driven to perform higher than people who are at the gym. There's nothing wrong with just like hobby rolling in the gym, but it's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same level of playing field. And if you're like smashing people at open mat, dude, like nice. You got some good practice. Like the real lessons you learn for competing is by like competing, and it doesn't matter how good you're doing at open mats or rolling in the gym or whatever. I've got this twisted myself sometimes where like I'll be feeling really good at an open mat. Like, dude, I just rolled over a purple belt. I just rolled over a Master 7 brown belt. Like at an open mat or something. I'm feeling good about myself, and then I show up and I get like eliminated in the first round by like some 18-year-old kid who did meth before he showed up to the competition. Dude, it's just different, man. Like it's not the same. So don't get it twisted and like think that like this like coping mechanism of thinking that like it's just another day of rolling.
Right.
No, it's not, bro. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to everybody else. It's a different thing, and both things are good.
Right.
Training is practice. Like
Right.
once you've competed enough, you realize that like training, like people who win in training, like congratulations. Like
Right.
who like whatever.
Yeah.
It's like training is practice. Competition is an entirely separate thing. You're doing the same sport that you're doing in the gym.
Right, but it's different.
And there can be similarities. Like you're still working the same techniques, but it's a different animal.
Yeah.
So like if you're doing well at the gym, like lower your expectations. You're gonna save yourself a lot of heartache when you show up to competition, and like you lose in the first round to like some kid you like think you should win. Don't ever think you should win. It's a very humbling experience, and it should be. It's very good.
Right.
I recommend everybody compete. But yeah, treat them as separate things.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. There's one thing that you said that I want to touch on, and that was, the people that you face in competition are the people who are driven to do better, like to go the extra mile, right? That's not to say that everybody you see in competition is going to be, the best person you ever saw and you'll never win a match. But the people who typically compete are the ones who invest more time and energy into it. And therefore, you're kind of at every level, you're seeing the best from that gym at that level from everywhere. It's like the best of the best kind of all come together.
Yeah. Like that guy who's in the competition might be the best guy at his gym.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And maybe he's still really bad, but like,
right. But
or maybe he's really good, but he's probably one of the best people at his gym at that level.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it's not the same. There's a time component. I mean, there's obviously timed rolls like when you're just training, but like there's a time component and a finality about, the end of that, because in the training room, when the roll ends, you could just roll again. But in the competition, that's not always the case, right? Like you have to win if you want to keep going. And so there's a big difference, I think, in the two.
And the way people do jujitsu too, like accepting sweeps.
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
Like in competition, nobody's going to like give you a free sweep.
Nope.
You see it a lot in the white belt division, but that's because like they're learning that like you can't do now you just learn you can't do that in competition. You just lost your match because of that. So people stop doing that stuff pretty quick.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. I got one more.
Cool.
This one is what would be your go-to split while training 4 days a week? I assume he means training on the mats 4 days a week. Do you guys weight train the same days you roll? Been training consistently for about 6 months and lost my gym routine. I just don't know what to focus on when it comes to lifting. Obviously, I'd like to become flexible and athletic to help me on the mats. So if well, if you're training 4 days a week on the mats, I think you're probably okay with just 2 days a week in the gym. If you structure it properly, you can do that. That's fine, right? The goal is not to get good at lifting weights. The goal is to get stronger so that you can do more of the thing that you want to do. So I would say right out the gate, 4 days a week, like most of the people that we train in our gym train 4 to 6 or 7 times a week. Like sometimes, people do double days or, I would consider most of the people at our gym lifestylists. I know we've talked about maybe like there's hobbyists and competitors, but then there's like that middle ground where they're like I think is more intense than a hobbyist in that like I get pissed if I don't get to train 5 to 6 days a week. Like that like really bugs me. I think a hobbyist is somebody who like is just training for fun and like this is a fun thing to learn. But like this shit is a fucking lifestyle for me.
A lifestylist has competition shirts that they wear occasionally.
Correct. Yeah.
Maybe even some what am I saying? Some Kings came out with a line of pants made from gi material. You might even have those. No, it's
Josh
not
isn't
gi
talking about
pants.
anybody in particular at all.
Not me. I'm not
It's
talking
not
about
him.
me. I'm not talking about me.
He's not talking about it. Yeah. And so, I think we work with a lot of people like this person who train 4+ days a week. And obviously spending the time on Reddit to look for answers. So they probably enjoy it maybe a little bit more than the typical hobbyist. In any case, I think 2 days a week is fine. The next question is, do you weight train the same days you roll? And the answer is yes. It's called consolidating stressors. And so as much as you can, you want to try to consolidate stressors being rolling, any like physical activity that causes fatigue. Those would be the stressors that we're talking about. So training on the mats and both in the weight room. And so if we can, we want the high intensity days, both in the weight room and on the mats, to be on the same day. That seems counterintuitive because you're like, well, I'm going to like put all I've got into the high intensity day on the mat. What am I going to be able to do in the weight room? And the answer is that may take a small hit, right? Either one you do after is going to take a small hit. Like if you lift weights before you train jiu-jitsu, your jiu-jitsu your ability to perform is going to take a small hit. Same in the other direction. But if you're doing high intensity days on back-to-back days and you're doing that multiple times a week, now your recovery goes way down and you're not able to recover, and then eventually you overtrain and then you lose your routine, or you have to take days off or whatever that is, days off that you wouldn't normally have taken off.
You can't do the high intensity days now, right?
Exactly. You end up not being able to do them. So if we can, we try to consolidate those stressors, put the lift on high intensity days, and then have other low intensity days, maybe low intensity days on the mats or ones that you don't lift at all, where you're able to recover a little bit, right? You're only as good as your recovery. And if you're unable to do that, you're just going to end up having to stop, which sucks and isn't the point of all of this. So
that makes sense. There's like, you just can't go balls out every day.
Correct.
Yeah, as much as we would like to.
Yep.
You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to get goosed.
You're going to get goosed.
Let me look that up real quick. Hey, Jamie, pull that up. Goosed. Oh.
I don't even want to know what you're seeing.
This is the official Oxford Language Dictionary definition
of goosed.
Poke someone between the buttocks.
Brits, man.
There's no way that's real. And then, yeah, that is the British one. The North American one is
Brits.
Give something a boost, invigorate, increase. None of these
That's funny.
That's the opposite of goose.
Maybe it's on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, let me see. This is gonna be bad.
Nothing good comes out of Urban Dictionary.
It'd be higher under the influence of MJ. Zooted. Zoinked. Synonyms. Zooted.
I don't think that's what that guy was talking about, but
yeah,
based
dude,
on
I
the
think he
context,
used goosed wrong, but
yeah.
like I think we understood what he meant.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
meant very tired.
Very well. All right.
All right, that was a good conversation.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for listening to another episode, everyone. If you enjoy this podcast, like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us at Thanks for the Roll on Instagram and TikTok. Write us a review and give us 5 stars wherever you listen. Then share this episode with somebody you think might benefit from it. See you next time. Thanks for the roll.
Thanks for the roll. Shoo!